to find a way to lead this group through the analysis of the data that we got from this survey and to use that to choose the next set of activities and also make that public information that could benefit groups like yours, like NASTF, OEMs, independent tool makers, in the aftermarket. But idea is to see if we can find the pulse of the industry and the state of affairs and use that as good feedback to choose our direction as we go forward. So this is one of the activities that we undertook under the box in red, the Research, Education, and Training Wing. So what we want to do next is what Mark Saxenberg is also going to speak about, and this is the Policy Center Activity Group. And one of the most, one of the consensus that we reached very quickly was this, was the service readiness gap, which I think is one of the outcomes, expected outcome of a group like NASTF. So clearly we have OEMs that develop service information to fix their vehicles the first time, and they all have this objective of making sure that their diagnostic information is accurate, precise, and usable. Clearly, the independent aftermarket doesn't use the OEM service information; they use other tools. But the end customer doesn't get to choose between one or the other. They effectively have to use both over the lifespan of the vehicle. So the question was, is this something that is of critical value? And I think in our past discussions, it became clear that if you look at the lifespan of a car, which is increasing as time goes on, they are using, in most cases, the OEM diagnostic tools for a third of the lifespan of the car. The rest of the time, that vehicle is probably being serviced outside of the OEM garages. So the question we had to answer was, is there a value in trying to address a service readiness gap, and what can we do about it? So the Policy Center has taken on the first task of looking at the service readiness gap and answering these 8 questions at a high level, albeit, to see if we can come up with some sort of a recommended practice that could be implemented across the board that does not put undue burden on the OEM side, neither on the independent aftermarket side, but collaboratively comes with some sort of a mechanism that provides information sharing and information access that is practical, that is doable, and that avoids legislation-driven requirements, as has been experienced in Europe by Euro 5 and Euro 6 standards. Clearly, nobody wants to go that way, but if we can find a solution that works well, it is to everybody's interest in this forum, I believe. So one of the things we are trying to do at STPC is to provide a neutral forum where this discussion can take place, where we can take complex issues, bring the professionals in from a proper cross-section of the industry and discuss ways, again, emphasizing on the neutrality and objectivity in resolving these problems. So the blocks that you see, the 3 rectangles that identify these 8, that break these 8 questions down, could be 3 different sessions or 3 different discussions that take place with the objective of answering each question, creating outputs that become the input to the next set of discussions that could lead to the eventual recommended practices or standardization activities that, who knows, could be used as a part of the legislation if it goes that way, or it could be just a good recommended practice that could benefit the process that is used to exchange information between OEMs and suppliers, OEMs and the independent aftermarket, and vice versa. So I tried to put my thoughts together as to how this could benefit the key players in the diagnostics business, which is the OEMs, the suppliers who develop the onboard diagnostics, as well as the independent aftermarket. So, one of the things that we all talk about is ODX, because it has been a standard of choice in Europe, but clearly it's not a very popular choice in North America. It has got its own benefits, it has got its own disadvantages, it is onerous, you're required to make a lot of investment in making that work. That example is not something that I'm a big fan of, but it could be something that North America considers to have a very streamlined way of finding a format for data exchange that might have secondary benefits. Some of you who are in the supplier business, in the independent aftermarket or Tier 1s, you could provide tools that would enable you to process that data So there is an opportunity here for everybody to improve the process. It doesn't have to be onerous or proprietary processes and data formats for each OEM, and that could benefit all of us. Better diagnostics of vehicles is a key end game. We are trying to see if we can improve the quality and experience of vehicle owners when they take the vehicle out of the dealerships, because at the end of the day, your vehicle's longevity is what you're after. Where you fix it is secondary. If you like your car, if you have a car that is running for 10 years, if you choose to drive a car that long, that is what you want, is that car, not where you're servicing it. But people remember that car. I have a Volkswagen Jetta that is running for 10 years, and I love that. So it's not a plug for Volkswagen, obviously, but it's a data point. So again, the key thing too is to remember as well as when the Euro 5 discussions took place, I was involved in those discussions to a certain degree as an observer, not as a participant, because of the global nature of my company, of the company that I work in. But one of the concerns that OEM had was how do you protect your IP? And that is a very legitimate concern, and that is where the balance comes in, where you've got to look for a neutral forum. And we believe SAE and the STPC could be a very good venue for such discussions. That's what I have. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. We can have the discussion even afterwards. No questions? Thank you.